So, Will, our first ever overlay on the countdown was a failure.
Oh,
Yeah, because it just sort of froze up on me on my end, anyways. I don't know what it did on yours,
no,
but on my
it
end,
looked okay from my end, but
was
who
there
am I to
flames
say?
at the end with the
I
with
didn't.
the
I didn't
head?
look for that part, honestly.
Oh man!
Anywho, hello,
Hey,
welcome.
your
This
mother's
is
our
it.
first ever watcher.
Well, that's kind of to be expected,
She's the first ever
but
listener.
I'm not disappointed.
I'm hoping she's watching.
So, thank you so much for tuning into the Will and Dave Show. It's a working title. We'll see if we keep it or not. We're your hosts, myself, Will,
And I'm Dave. I'm Will's dad.
and today's episode is both sponsored and brought to you by StitchedBySusan.com.
Stitched by Susan. If you look at that beautiful featured quilt on the left, that is one of her masterpieces. And I just want to mention that I am married to Stitched by Susan. And if you want to learn how to do what she does, she is going to be offering a masterclass at www.stitchedbysusan.com. And she would love to sign you up to her masterclass. Hey, Will.
Hey, ready for the intro?
That's your mom.
Yeah, I know. We're not biased at all.
Not at all. And yeah, I think I'm ready for the intro. Will, here you go.
Roll them.
Welcome to the Will and Dave Show.
I like it. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the table. If you're new here, which I'm going to go out on a limb and say everyone's new here, this is the first episode. Welcome for joining us. Please subscribe, hit that little bell, enjoy the show. Every little bit of you following us, whether that's subscribing, commenting, sharing, all of it helps us immensely. So please, we would love it if you could do that for us.
That's right. We would like you to click that subscribe button on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, click that subscribe button. Hammer that subscribe button. Use your mousy thing or your fingery thing on your phone and get that subscribe button because it helps the evil overlords at Google give us an identity.
Yeah, and Lord knows we need that, at least to get started. That 100 subscriber count is pretty important with YouTube as well, especially. Before we get into today's show, though, I want to give a small content advisory warning. While we do try to keep this show as accessible to everyone as we possibly can, obviously we do talk about some more mature subjects. Like in today, we talk about the BC government's response to sex during COVID-19. So there is going to be some mature subject in there. Just be warned if you have children listening. This might not be perfect for them, but we hope it's accessible to everyone.
I just want to clarify that I will be giving the rant of the week, which is where I go into the content advisory portion of the show. And
Yes.
I promised your mother I would keep it PG-13.
Let's see how that goes.
In order to do that, I had to promise not to use some of the words that were on the government's own website.
That should give you an indicator of why it's the rant of the week.
Yeah, that is true. William,
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you, why are you doing this? And who are you? I mean, I know you, but I don't know that your
Right.
mother, who's the only one watching right now, I don't know that she knows you. But hopefully
Well,
there are going to be some replays later on where you can explain who you are.
yeah, hopefully. So I am Will, obviously. I have no background in politics or sociology, economics, or any of that. I just like to read and argue about it on a regular basis. And I'm sure that the people that I'm close to are sick and tired of me talking about these things as often as I do. And the genesis for this show really came about when, during this whole COVID pandemic, myself and Dave got into a lot of really long winded discussions over the phone, staying up way later than we should have stayed up, talking about everything from uh, racism to gender politics to welfare, healthcare, you name it. And we realized that we don't agree on a lot of these things. It's a given, but we can talk about them and we can disagree about them very, very passionately. But at the end of these conversations, we still like each other. I'd even go so far as to say we still respect each other. And I just think that we need more of that. We need more talking about these really polarizing, very charged subjects in a manner that is not it's impassioned, but it's not aggressive. It's not meant to tear somebody else down for what they are what they think, what they believe in, but rather a blending of ideas, a way of learning from each other, but without the intent to convert one another. If that makes sense. We want to be able to have conversations where we're trying to make our point and trying to be as clear and understanding with it as possible, but knowing full well that I'm probably never going to convince my dad that Medicare is good all round, that universal healthcare or a universal income might be a good idea. That's just, I've accepted that's probably not going to happen, but we're still going to talk about those things because by talking about them, we both deepen our understanding of each other and each other's opinions, but also deepen our own understanding of our own opinions because we're testing them, because we're putting them up against resistance, if that makes sense. And we can do that and we can still love and respect each other both during and at the end of that. And so we want this show to kind of be a space for that, a space for us to do it between the two of us, but also a space to kind of foster those conversations amongst other people who might be listening to the show and then can take that idea of healthy, passionate debate and discussion to their friends and family, to their Thanksgiving dinner tables, to their family gatherings of any sort, really. And I think that's really the crux of why I'm doing this and what I want to do with it. Does that make sense?
I think that makes sense. Are you saying that we not only are going to love each other and to appreciate each other, but we also are going to disagree? Is that what you said?
Oh, absolutely. I will disagree all the time with you. Probably more often than not.
Sweet. I like that. You know, when I hear you share that, it's so well said, Will, and I want to say that it's sort of along the lines of the reason I wanted to do it. It's, I'm going to do it this way. There's an old Indian from India story. I'm sure we've all heard it. It's the story of the blind men and the elephants. The blind men and the elephant. First show on air, and already I can't talk. And it really amazes me how all the men all go to the elephant, and then the one reaches its side and he reaches up and he said, "Hey, this thing's like a wall." And the other one, he grabs his tail and, "Man, this is like a rope." And the one reaches around and grabs a leg and he says, "Wow, this is like a mighty tree." And another one, it goes up and he gets the trunk and he says, "It's like a huge snake." And all of them are correct at that point. They are all right in that it is like these things. And all depending on the version of this story that you read, what happens after that is very important. So in my version of the story, they all sat down and they said, "This is what it's like, but what is it?" And the truth of the matter is, it's an elephant. But so often, and this happened in other versions of the tale, they said, "No, it's a tree," or "No, it's a rope," or "No, it's a snake," or "No, it's a wall." And it wasn't that. It was an elephant. And so often, and this happens in conversations around the globe, although it's for sure happening in North America with elections or with COVID, where all of us have an idea of what it's like and we say, "This is what it is. This is what," you name the issue, "this is what it is." And we need to remember that our viewpoint And our perspective is exactly that. It is our perspective. And Will, it's one of the things that it's sort of, it means a lot to me is as we look at the discussions and we look at your perspective and my perspective and we say, hey, wait a minute, but it's a wall. We're wrong when we say
or
that.
A snake.
We're wrong. It's an elephant.
Right. Yeah. To claim that the entire thing is exactly as what we observe. Our anecdotal evidence doesn't define the entire situation or the entire beast in this case. It's just one piece of the puzzle. It's one side to the story,
Right.
one facet of the issue.
Right. It's yeah. I can't stress that enough, that the whole foundation of this show is your ideas and my ideas, which so often are like the rope or the tree or the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And we really are describing the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a
It's-
tagline.
The elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room.
There you go. Maybe we'll put it on a t-shirt or something.
There we go.
It's yeah. That's where we're coming at and why we're doing it. So next I want to get into some of the more specific reasons as to why we're doing this.
Yeah.
We've touched on it with that exact thing. And there's a colloquialism for this within the current zeitgeist. And it's an echo chamber.
Hold on, Will. Hold on.
What?
Is this zeitgeist again?
Yes, zeitgeist again. It's a good word. It makes me sound smart, and I need all the help I can get. Thank you very much.
That's just for you, Murray. I hope you appreciated zeitgeist.
But anyways, echo chambers and how this is something that we agree on, is that echo chambers are vastly detrimental to almost everyone who happens to find themselves in one.
Absolutely.
So for those of you who may or may not know, what an echo chamber is the idea of, or the concept of, you have an idea or a state or a statement. Let's say, it's an example, that carbon fiber hockey sticks are the best hockey sticks. Wooden ones aren't that good. And you surround yourself with people who also think that carbon fiber hockey sticks are the best hockey sticks. Anyone who may come into the group thinking, hey, I like my wooden hockey stick. It's got more flexibility. Screw that guy. He doesn't have a carbon fiber hockey stick. His opinion doesn't matter. You only listen to the people who also like carbon fiber hockey sticks. You've kind of created an echo chamber for yourself. A small or large group of people who just reverberate the same idea over and over again, not allowing any new information or any new viewpoints to come into the picture. Does that make sense?
Yes, if I can interrupt you for just a moment. For
Fine.
those of you south of the border, is it a wooden baseball bat or is it a metal baseball bat?
Yeah, exactly.
Same argument.
Same argument.
Yeah.
The idea of not introducing any new input or new viewpoints within a given situation is an echo chamber.
Here's an easy indicator if you are in an echo chamber. If you are going to vote or have voted for Mr. Trump, and all you watch or listen to all the time is Fox News, you are in an echo chamber.
Yeah.
If you are going to vote for Mr. Biden, and you're sure he's the best thing since sliced cheese, and the only thing you hear or listen to regularly is MSNBC, you're probably in an echo chamber.
Exactly. It goes both ways. The echo chamber exists regardless of which end of the political spectrum you're on.
Right. Here is my recommendation for if you want to get out of an echo chamber. I'm going to make an easy example for politics again, as it's an obvious one in the world today, is if you want to vote for Trump, you go on YouTube, you go onto your cable news, you listen to voices who don't agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a good suggestion, Will?
It's perfect. I can't recommend it enough. Look at the arguments that are against the candidate that you support. That applies to politics. That applies to anything.
Hockey sticks.
Yeah, it would apply to hockey sticks. If you're looking for the best hockey stick, listen to the opinions of people who don't use carbon fiber sticks. See what they have to say about hockey sticks,
Right.
or baseball bats, etc.
Etc.
And that's something that we really stress, specifically with this episode, but in general in this show, is the idea of echo chambers. And both of us try not to get caught up in them as much as possible. Which isn't to say we don't. I mean, I inevitably do. I obviously am kind of in something of a left-wing bubble. And so anything that tries to puncture that bubble, I'm initially more resistant to, inevitably. But I try. It's an active. It has to be an active choice to bring new information into the bubble. It doesn't just happen on its own. You have to go out and find it. You have to go out and find the things that disagree with what you think and challenge what you think.
And actually, Will, I want to go one step further in the encouragement on getting out of your echo chamber, is because I don't want you to listen and have to an echo chamber or to an outside voice and argue with it. I just want you to listen to it and then just stop.
Yeah.
It isn't an argument. It just is hearing another viewpoint. It's not. It isn't arguing with the guy who thinks it's a rope or the guy who thinks it's a snake. It's hearing that viewpoint and not having to change his mind. And honestly, you don't have to change your mind. You just have to hear that other person.
Exactly. Like, we throw around the term when we're talking about what we're doing, debating, arguing, discussing, etc. It doesn't always have to be a debate.
Right.
You can just listen to someone. I'm not good at it, but that doesn't mean I don't recognize the value in it.
You got
practice
that.
what I preach more.
You got the lack of ability to listen from your dad.
Hey, genetics.
Genetics. It's one of the things that when we go through this whole idea of the show and what we wanted it to be about, it stemmed from a number of our conversations on the phone and was actually on Facebook, where we didn't agree at all. Like, at all.
No.
And at the end of it, and we're hanging up, and there was zero anger. There was zero either ill will or disappointment.
Yeah.
I hadn't fixed you or
There
changed
was-
your mind.
Yeah, there was passion for sure. Like, I was fired up.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel disrespected. I didn't feel like I had let you down or like I had been let down.
Right.
It was good. It was empowering to challenge myself and to challenge you.
Right. And honestly, I liked it.
Yeah.
Hearing an outside opinion, which is not the same as yours, is often a good way to learn. If all you hear is what you agree with, you won't learn anything new because you think you know it all.
Mm-hmm. I think I might be misquoting this because I'm pulling this off of a quote I read on Facebook, so take that for what it is. But I think it was Mark Twain that said something along the lines of world travel is the death of ignorance. And I think that applies to ideas. If you stay in the same place geographically, your understanding of the world won't change a lot. I mean, the internet helps with that, but if you're born in a town and you never leave that town ever, your perception of the world is that town. And that applies to ideas. If you have an idea and that's just where you stop, you just stay there. I'm not saying the idea is wrong. Nobody's saying that the small town is bad. Nobody's saying the idea is wrong. But if you never expand outside of that, how will you know for sure? How will you fully understand your own town's place in the world or your own idea's place in the world if you don't go outside of it actively?
I agree. I think that's a great. It's what we're doing in this show.
And so it's exactly what we're trying to do.
Yeah,
we're trying to kind of be an example of having that conversation and stepping outside that boundary.
So I just want to clarify again that we don't have to agree with each other.
We probably won't.
We like hearing other ideas and other viewpoints. Usually. Sometimes they hurt, but it's a good pain. I forget who it was. It might have been Arnold who said, "No pain, no gain." I don't know who said it, but it sort of fits here. you should, it really should hurt. And then you learn from it. It should hurt to hear that idea.
I remember you teaching me as a kid that when it comes to compromise, whether it's in business or in personal dealings, you can be reasonably sure that it was fair if both sides walk away a little bit upset or feeling like they didn't quite come out ahead.
Right.
That's a sign of fairness. And so, a good, healthy place should never be perfectly comfortable.
Right.
You should never feel like you've won unequivocally,
Right.
or that everything's going perfectly. Otherwise, there's no challenge and there's no growth.
So I'm opening, I get a little bit of information on my iPad, if it would open.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things everybody has been asking us is, so are you doing it for the money? Like, are you making a living doing this? And I sort of want to clarify that.
Yeah. We've talked about what we want to do and why we're doing it. Now let's talk about and how.
Yeah.
So in terms of making money, we're not making any money right now. We're doing this purely because we want to do it. It's a passion project. We are planning on monetizing. And to that end, we want to be very transparent with the people that listen and or potentially support us. So we are going to talk both now and in the future. We'll continue to talk about how we want to monetize this podcast, whether that be through advertising revenue on YouTube, or we are planning on starting a Patreon. We'll touch on that a little bit again later. And then what we want to do with the money. Currently, at least, with any money that we do make with the podcast, we're putting that into the podcast, into upgrading our hardware, into upgrading our reach, trying to spread the podcast as far and wide as we can. So currently we're not making any money, and we have no plans in the immediate future of making money per se in terms of profit.
Right.
We do want to improve the show though, with any funds we might make.
I don't have my notes in front of me, Will, so I'm flying blind here. Although I look at all the venues out there, if it be Patreon, if it be a few of those other ones, and I think the real goal here is really sharing our heart, and again our belief that there is a better way to get along with people. If it be your neighbor, if it be your sister, if it be your brother, if it be your dad, if it be the guy who you work with.
Exactly.
And the money it's a way of doing it in a better manner.
Yeah, more efficiently and more prolifically.
Right. And they make us look really good. As we get more money, my head won't shine as much.
I don't know if we'll ever be able to stop that. I don't know if I ever want to stop that. It's free shots, low-hanging fruit whenever I need to take you down a peg.
So in the interest of how we're doing it and the method, I want to mention our website.
Yes.
So our website is really simple. It's 3 pages. On the first one is it's information about this show. It has, I think, our photos on the front. I don't even know about that. And then
logo for sure.
There's a page with all the episodes, including the live episode. Now, it's not live in the website because I haven't figured out how to do that because I'm not very smart, except it will be live on that website. Right now, it's a link and it hauls you into YouTube, and there you watch it. Also, there's a third slot there. It's in the upper right, and it says submit your question. We really would like you to interact with us, either in the comments or from our website, which is www.thewillanddaveshow.com. And we want you to enter your comments. And it is truly as simple as on your phone. If you go there and you hit the link for submit your question, and you go through, you enter your name, your email, and then it asks if you want to do a video, and you say, yes, I would love to do a video. And it opens up your camera, and you can, and then it emails it to us, and we will play it on air if you want us to. If you don't want us to, we won't. But we would love to get what you want to see on the show. I think you're muted, Will.
Sorry about
There you
that.
go.
If you're uncomfortable taking video, I believe we also have the option for just text comments if you just want to write one out.
Yes, we do.
That exists as well if you're like me and don't love being in front of a camera.
Did you just say that, Will? And we're live on YouTube.
Yeah, we're live on YouTube.
And we're live on Facebook all last week.
I love being in front of the camera. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Love it.
I love it. One of the things that our views about how we do this are shockingly similar. And a good example of that is actually Sean Connery. And I wondered if you would explain that a little bit and the way that is how we think.
I'm not exactly sure where Sean Connery fits in with what we're doing. I know he died, which is really sad.
He died. It's okay.
Topical.
Okay, I'm going to share how it explains
you
how
share
we
it.
think, because obviously it's my idea, and I haven't explained it to you at all.
It is your idea.
So a week ago, we were working on the topics and what we want to do, and I said to Will, who's really good at voices, I said, "Hey, would you do voices on the show?" And he said, "If I have to, because it's not really his thing. He doesn't enjoy doing it, and I always ask him to do it." And I said to him, "Hey, Will, would you do Sean Connery's voice? Because he does a really good Scottish brogue, and I suck at voices." And he said, "Well, if I have to." And I said, "Yeah, you have to." So this morning, I woke up and I heard the news that Sean Connery had passed away. And the first thing in my mind or whatever is I don't want to do that out of respect for Sean Connery.
Yeah.
And as soon as I called Will, he said, "Absolutely. It would be a mockery." And that is how
Tasteful.
Right. So our values in how we do things, we were talking about interviewees.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that we hate is gotcha questions.
Yeah. I think it's disrespectful to anyone that we have on the show to try and trap them, to try and corner them with our words and with ideas. It's cheap.
Yes.
And I don't want to do that. And imitating Sean Connery's voice, while it is iconic and fun to imitate, is cheap. And at this point, disrespectful.
Yes.
Especially because, with his last act on this earth, he got me out of a crappy impression. So forever grateful to Mr. Connery. Our thoughts and prayers.
To the family.
But he did me a solid at the last minute there.
So one thing about this show, again, we keep saying, and one more thing about the show is we use humor a lot. It's in our family. Yeah. And often in the heavier and the hardest moments, we will joke about it. And I don't know how healthy it is.
It's a defense mechanism. It's absolutely a defense mechanism. My wife, who is a social worker, has made it very abundantly clear that is my go-to defense mechanism, is to make a joke about it, even if it is so incredibly out of taste and may or may not even be funny. It's just a way of deflecting stress.
If that's the case, I am always on defense because everything I do, I deal with humor.
Yeah. So yeah, we both agree that it's fun to poke fun at things that are sensitive, by all means.
Yes.
But we never want to overstretch our bounds. We don't want to. So there's a very thin line between like ooh humor and ooh humor.
I can almost promise you that we had multiple times over the course of the show are going to get into the ooh humor part.
Yes. And that is somewhere where audience participation and audience communication is incredibly valid.
Yes.
Because it's really easy for us on this side of the camera and the microphone to make those jokes, to chuckle to ourselves. But we need that feedback. the feedback to tell us that we've done something wrong so that we can address it and we can,
Right.
if need be, apologize and move on from it. Having that feedback is vastly important. And I see that with a lot of content creators, both audio and through video on YouTube, where they don't, they can't self-regulate, that sort of thing.
Right.
You need outside input. You have to have it to keep yourself accountable, if nothing else.
Right. So the one thing that we do want to do is have interviewees, have interviews, and have other voices, because it would get really boring if it is just you and I all the time.
Yeah, I don't want to stare at only your face all the time.
I don't want to stare at your face at all. That's why I look at the camera. I don't have to look at you.
Hey. I'm going to put that by my camera on the wall. I'm just going to write up there, imagine this is not Dave's face. It'll keep me staring right into the lens all the time.
So a few of the people who we have lined up are going to be a lot of fun, actually. A few of them are on heavy topics, i.e. race or abortion, etc. And a few of them are just on fun things like sports, business,
sports,
and those sorts of I said fun things, and I said sports. So you can have that week off, I guess.
Yay.
Yay. So there I go again. So I want to share something that I learned after our promo spots.
Mm-hmm.
And I do this, and I'm going to stop doing it because I caught myself doing it again. As you said, yay. And immediately I turned into an echo chamber, and I said, hey.
You know what? I take it as support and solidarity in my sarcasm.
There you go.
That's how I see it.
There you go.
I'm okay with that. But yeah, we want to have a wide variety of guests, as you say, ranging anywhere from people much more knowledgeable than ourselves on subjects.
Which is everybody.
So everyone. To the most benign people, whether it be family, friends, you name it. Because again, it's nice to have big, stunning names and stunning brains on the show, but it's also nice to have just friends, just normal people.
Yes,
because we're just normal people when we do this show. Like that's all this is just normal people talking about things.
Normal people like us.
Yeah, normal people like us.
I don't know when I was last called normal. Just
guys being dudes.
Guys being dudes.
Just guys being dudes.
There you go. I'm not sure I like that one, but I'm sure we'll hear about that one. If you have any comment about the guys being dudes, write it in the comments. Let us know if you think that's a good thing or not.
It's a Vine or a TikTok. I can't remember which. I've already got fans because of that.
Oh, sweet.
Topical humor, baby.
William.
Yes.
We forgot one segment in our planning.
Which was that?
What does Dave know, or is Dave an idiot, or I can't remember how that went, but I had a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Is I'm about to do the rant of the week,
and
your mic is off and your camera is off, so I'm going to give you like 3 minutes or 4 minutes in which you get to find the is Dave an idiot item, or however that goes.
No pressure.
No pressure. You got lots of time.
Before we get into your rant, though, I do want to touch on one last thing, which is Patreon, which I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
So that is going to be especially early on in the show, that is our planned primary form of monetization. Is going to be we're going to be setting up a Patreon. Now, for those of you who don't know how Patreon works, it's a pretty simple system where you as a viewer, if you really like the show or like the work we do, you can sign up to our Patreon to support us monetarily with a monthly subscription, I believe they call it. Essentially, it's a monthly donation. For that donation, you will get certain behind-the-scenes-esque content from us. So currently, we're planning on doing a segment, what we're going to call the WAD files, which is the Where's All the Data, or Will and Dave Show files, which at the end of each episode, we're going to do a little bit of fact-checking, because inevitably, we're going to make claims throughout each episode. I claim this statistic, or the majority of people think this thing. I may or may not be right. And after the show, we're going to fact check ourselves and confirm just how full of crap I am, or you are, or we are.
Which is going to be very full, but yeah.
Yeah. And so things like that, or we may do, seasonal tidbits or episodes or behind the scenes-y stuff. That's the kind of stuff that you would find on Patreon.
Right.
So we'll be looking for that in the relatively near future. We'll be posting more information on that on our social media as time goes on. And if you really like the show, that is the best way possible for you to support us outside of, liking, sharing, subscribing, etc. That is the most concrete way to support the show.
Yes.
With that being said, on to the rant.
The rant of the week.
The rant of the week.
So I sort of want to give a little bit of a warning ahead of the rant of the week that this has to do with sex. But on the plus side is government sanctioned sex. So in Canada, they have provinces, not states. And I grew up in the province of BC. And halfway through learning about all the COVID and the social distancing and all those other things, they came up with a guide for safe sex during COVID. And as soon as I read it, I heard about it on Facebook. There's a post on Facebook, and I called, that ain't real. It can't be real. Has to be clickbait. I don't believe it. Not in a million years. So I researched it, and I went to the BC Centre for Disease Control. And sure enough, this was at the top of the page of a government website. How to protect yourself during sex. I'm going to skip most of this. I'm going to go right to the end. It was a man who wrote this because he wants us to get phone numbers and addresses. That's what we've been doing since men were old enough to ask Sally whatever we were going to ask her and ask her out for prom. We've wanted to get their names and phone numbers, and now the government is saying, you really need to do that. Wash up before and after sex. Does the government need to tell us these things? Do we have to be told to wash before and after sex? We should have known this. If we don't know it, we shouldn't be having sex. Wear a face covering or a mask. Heavy breathing. Sex without heavy breathing isn't sex. You don't need the government to tell you this. Use barriers like walls. I'm not even going to go there. If you're feeling fine and you have no symptoms, you can still have sex. But if you're feeling sick, skip sex. That's the age-old excuse. Honey, I have a headache. We don't need the government to tell us this. We really don't. Virtual sex. Don't have sex over the internet. Do not do it. If you're naked on the internet, even if it is on Zoom or any other format, don't have sex on the internet. Just don't do it. We don't need the government involved in our sex life. We don't need the government explaining how to have sex. I just prefer if the government would get out of my bedroom. On a side note, William, I don't think I've said the word sex that many times in that short a time frame in my life. And it was inspired by the BC government. So if you live in BC and you have a government that gives you this information, and there's a lot more detail that I didn't get into because I am trying to keep it PG-13, write your representative, whatever they're called. I don't even know, what are they called in BC, Will? Is it your MP? Write your MP and say, get the heck out of my bedroom. There is my rant for the week.
I feel like we should have given a little clarification on what the rants are in the show. They are unfiltered obviously.
Hey, I filtered mine pretty heavily.
Well, yeah. But I just mean those aren't topics of debate. Those are just things we're throwing into the void because it feels good to rant about them.
Okay, so that's not a debate?
No, it's not a debate.
Sweet.
Oh, if I were to offer one tiny little addendum, you can have virtual sex just with the knowledge that it is probably not private.
There you go. Okay, so if you
Anyone
want...
can access that, or anyone has the potential to possibly access things like that you put on the internet. So if you're putting them on the internet, you're doing so with the understanding that it may very well not remain private.
So if you want to run the risk of having your naked hiney on the internet, have sex virtually.
I mean, for some people, that does it for them. So, more power to you guys. Give her. Go get him, Tiger.
That was the wrong sound effect.
So moving on to the next segment we have here, the does Dave know things? I don't know. Let's find out. This is in a crunch, so you put me in a bind here.
I want to interrupt you for a second.
Oh, okay.
So at one of the promo videos, one of test videos, you asked me about the item 39 or something, and what was that?
Rule 34. And said
Rule 34. You asked me not to Google it, but here's what you don't understand, Will, is that when I Google things, I don't just open the link indiscriminately. So you can Google things and not open the link. And if you read the description, you figure out what it is. You don't have to actually open it.
See, if I Google something like that, like I know I don't have to click the link, but it's like a sign on a bench saying wet paint. I'm going to reach out and touch the paint just to confirm
that it's wet.
Just to be sure. Don't press the big red button. I might press it.
I didn't.
Okay, good.
Your secret's safe with me.
You saved yourself some pain.
Okay.
But in today's
episode,
does Dave know things? I don't know. Let's find out. Thirst traps.
Thirst traps?
Thirst traps.
Thirst traps.
This isn't even a millennial thing. This is more of a Gen Z thing. Thirst traps. So obviously you don't know what a thirst trap is.
No, but I'm going to guess because I have that right to guess.
You have the right to guess, so please do.
Thirst traps. I'm going to say that it is... Ooh. It's a caffeine-free energy drink. Now, Allison, if and when you watch this, I want to remind you that this is all your idea, and that every time I make an idiot out of myself, it is all your fault. So Allison Antles, I think I just called her Allison Smith again, didn't I?
Nope, you called her Antles. You're good.
Okay.
You nailed it.
Okay, Allison Antles, me looking like an idiot on YouTube is all your fault.
She'll wear that badge with honor.
So what is it, William?
So a thirst trap is predominantly used in things like Vine or TikTok or, Instagram, Snapchat as well. And it's generally speaking the idea of taking a video of yourself that is intentionally, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say sexually provocative, but it is very much meant to cast you in a very attractive light. The idea is, so to be thirsty for someone is to be, attracted to someone,
right?
To be pursuing someone, to be chasing after someone, to be interested in someone,
right?
And so a thirst trap is you making a video inviting people to be attracted to you, to be interested in you, and to seek out your attention. And it is a generally, within reason, a generally acceptable thing to do now. I would say, I would argue that it's an acceptable thing to do. To post something like that out there, like a video of you, dancing provocatively, but that's okay because you're the one posting it. It's kind of a new thing.
So are you saying that it's okay if I post a video of me dancing provocatively?
Yes. I mean, you have to be okay with the fact that you're posting it and you might get varied responses, but yes.
I don't think your mother would be okay with it.
Probably not.
No.
But it's okay for you to do it.
You see, I can't imagine any scenario where me dancing would ever be described as provocative.
Well, this is the beauty of the internet. there, like there is something for everyone, there is
Yes.
everyone for something. Someone out there will get the hots for you. Don't worry.
Oh man,
You can be as scared about that as you want.
I'm going to be very scared about that, William.
So yeah, that's a thirst trap.
That's a thirst
I'm not
trap.
even very good at describing what it is.
Ay, ay, ay. I am way too old. What's that line in the Lethal Weapon movies? I'm too old for this shit. That's
Yeah,
me
yeah.
right there.
All right there, Donnie Glover.
Donnie Glover. We want to thank our viewers, William, for watching this
That's what we're here for.
46-minute show.
Oh man, we're like right on the button too.
Right on the button. It's amazing.
First try.
Yeah. So our goal is under an hour, and we'd like to hover right about to the 40 to 50-minute range, and we're right there today. And
Yeah.
we want to thank you guys for hanging out with us, for sharing our little first episode of the Will and Dave Show.
They grow up so fast.
I
We won't, but the show might.
I hope the show does, because yeah, it can only get better, folks. And I promise I
Exactly.
won't say sex 37 times in 2 minutes in the next episode.
We'll trim that down to a cool 25.
That's right. We want to invite you guys, even on the replays, enter your comments. We will respond. We will answer them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Any and all feedback is welcome.
Yep. We will be
It-
posting. Go ahead, Will.
If you feel the need to be assholes in the comments, at least be funny while you're doing it so we can enjoy reading them. Please and thank you. Because that makes it more fun for me.
And me.
Like I have to read them.
And me. We will not be moving this over into Facebook. So I will have a link in Facebook, but you won't be able to watch this in Facebook. You'll need
Right.
to watch it on YouTube, because that's where the platform will be to watch the Will and Dave Show.
Or alternatively,
Yes.
if you prefer to listen to it as opposed to watching it,
Yep.
next Saturday we'll release the audio of this podcast
Yep.
prior to the the shooting of the next week's, like the coming week's live show. So next Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I believe.
No, it'll be Pacific. Is it 7?
Sorry, 7 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah.
We'll be releasing the new live show.
Yep.
And earlier in the day, we'll be releasing the audio podcast version on Apple iTunes iTunes podcasts, and potentially on Spotify. We're still working on that one.
Hopefully, anywhere where fine podcasts are served, we will be there.
Yes, sir.
That's the plan.
That's the plan.
So if you listen on almost anything, I'm hoping that if I can work the magic of the interwebs, I will have it there for you next Saturday morning.
Perfect.
So I just want to reiterate, if you're looking for any more information about the show, for episodes, you can watch and listen at the Will and Dave Show.com, or on YouTube. You can search for the Will and Dave Show, and we will turn up pretty much at the top of the list.
Awesome. Thank you so much for listening and joining us on this not really historic, but monumentous for us occasion.
Yeah. This has been fun, Will. We will see you next week.
All right. Everyone's dismissed.